There is a chapter in the Bible so practical, so direct, that people have carried its words into hospital rooms, into moments of bankruptcy, into the middle of the night when nothing made sense anymore. Not because it's poetic, because it works. That chapter is Proverbs 3. It was written as a father speaking to a son, passing down not just religious instruction, but wisdom for actually living, how to handle money, how to handle fear, how to handle the moments when you did everything right and still ended up in the dark. Today we're going to walk through 12 lessons hidden inside this one chapter, lessons that have shaped how millions of people have faced their hardest days. Let's begin. Lesson 1. Wisdom is something you hold on to, not something you find once. The chapter opens with an instruction to not forget what you've been taught, to keep these teachings close to your heart. This isn't a suggestion to learn something once and move on. It's a command to keep returning to it, to let it live in you the way memory lives in you. Most people treat wisdom like a lecture they attended once. They hear something true, feel moved by it for a day, and then let life crowd it out. But real wisdom isn't information you collect. It's something you carry, revisit, and let reshape you slowly, over years, not minutes. Think about the last time something true actually changed you. It probably wasn't the first time you heard it. It was the 10th time, or the 100th, spoken quietly to yourself in a moment when you needed it and finally let it sink further than it had before. That's what this first lesson is asking of you. Not a single moment of inspiration, a lifetime of return. Lesson 2. Love and faithfulness are the foundation, not the decoration. The text moves quickly into something specific. Let love and faithfulness never leave you. Bind them around your neck. Write them on the tablet of your heart. This is deliberate imagery. A tablet in the ancient world wasn't something you glanced at. It was something permanent, engraved, meant to last. The instruction isn't to display love and faithfulness where others can see them. It's to carve them into the core of who you actually are, in the places no one else will ever witness. This matters because most people build their character the other way around. They perform faithfulness in public and cut corners in private. They show love where it's convenient and withhold it where it costs something. But wisdom here says the opposite. Build the foundation first, invisibly in the heart, and let the visible parts of your life simply be what naturally overflows from that foundation. If you find yourself faithful only when someone is watching, this verse is asking you to look deeper. The engraving has to happen where no one else can see it. Lesson 3. Trust is not the absence of understanding. It's what replaces it. This might be the most quoted line in the entire chapter. Trust in the Lord with all your heart, and lean not on your own understanding. Notice what this verse does not say. It doesn't say your own understanding is worthless. It doesn't say thinking is dangerous. It says something more precise. Don't lean on it. Don't make your own limited perspective the final authority on situations you can't fully see. This is one of the hardest lessons to actually live, because human beings are wired to want explanations. We want to understand why something happened before we can accept it. But this verse suggests a different order entirely. Trust first and let understanding come later, if it comes at all. Think about the moments in your own life that made the least sense while you were living through them. A loss you couldn't explain, a door that closed for no visible reason, a season that felt like punishment but turned out, years later, to be protection. In almost every case, understanding arrived after trust, not before it. This verse is asking you to stop waiting for full clarity before you're willing to trust, because that clarity, if it comes, usually comes last. Lesson 4. Acknowledge God in everything, not just the religious parts of life. The text continues, "In all your ways, submit to Him, and He will make your paths straight." The phrase, "in all your ways," is doing more work than it first appears to. Most people compartmentalize faith. They acknowledge God on Sunday, in prayer, in moments that feel spiritual. But this verse specifically says, all your ways. Your career decisions, your relationships, the way you spend money, the way you speak to people who can do nothing for you, the way you handle a bad day. This is an invitation to stop treating faith as a category of life and start treating it as the operating system underneath every category, not a room in the house, the foundation the whole house is built on. Lesson 5. Wisdom asks you to stop being wise in your own eyes. Do not be wise in your own eyes, the text warns. Fear the Lord and shun evil. This is a warning against self-sufficiency dressed up as intelligence. There's a specific danger in becoming so confident in your own reasoning that you stop being able to hear correction, stop being able to admit you were wrong, stop being willing to be taught. The wisest people throughout history, in nearly every tradition, share this one trait. They remain teachable. The moment someone believes they've arrived, that they have nothing left to learn, is usually the moment their growth stops entirely. This verse is a guardrail against that specific kind of pride, the pride that mistakes confidence for wisdom. Lesson 6. Generosity is part of worship, not separate from it. The text turns practical here. Honor the Lord with your wealth, with the first fruits of all your crops. The phrase first fruits carried real weight in the ancient world. It meant giving from the very first portion of the harvest, before you even knew how the rest of the season would turn out. Not giving from what's left over after your needs are met. Giving first, before certainty, as an act of trust rather than convenience. This flips how most people think about generosity today. Most people give what remains after everything else is accounted for. This verse asks for the opposite order. Give first, trust that what remains will be enough, and let that giving itself be an act of worship rather than an afterthought to it. Lesson 7. Discipline from God is evidence of love, not rejection. Here the tone shifts. My son, do not despise the Lord's discipline, and do not resent his rebuke, because the Lord disciplines those he loves, as a father the son he delights in. This is one of the hardest truths in the entire chapter, because human instinct reads difficulty as abandonment. When life gets hard, when correction comes, when a door closes painfully, the natural conclusion many people draw is that God has left them, or never cared in the first place. This verse reframes that instinct entirely. Discipline in this context isn't punishment for its own sake. It's the deliberate shaping that only happens in relationships where someone is invested enough to correct you rather than simply let you drift. A parent who never corrects a child isn't demonstrating more love. They're demonstrating less involvement. If you've experienced a season of correction, of difficulty, of being reshaped against your will, this verse suggests reading that season differently. Not as evidence you were abandoned, as evidence you were being formed by someone who cared enough not to leave you exactly as you were. Lesson 8. Wisdom is more valuable than wealth, even though it feels less urgent. Blessed are those who find wisdom, the text says, for she is more profitable than silver and yields better returns than gold. This is a direct challenge to how most people actually order their priorities. Wealth feels urgent. Bills feel urgent. Wisdom feels optional, something to pursue later, once the more pressing matters are handled. But this verse makes a claim that takes a lifetime to fully verify, that wisdom outperforms wealth in the long run, because wisdom is what determines how well you handle wealth once you have it, how well you handle its absence when you don't, and how well you navigate every decision in between. Money without wisdom disappears quickly. Wisdom without money still finds a way forward. Lesson 9. Wisdom protects your life, not just your reputation. The text continues describing wisdom's value. She is more precious than rubies. Nothing you desire can compare with her. Long life is in her right hand. In her left hand are riches and honor. Notice the order here. Long life comes first, mentioned before riches and honor. This is deliberate. Wisdom's primary value isn't how it makes you look to others. It's how it protects the actual years of your life, keeping you from decisions that would have cost you your health, your relationships, your stability, your future. Most people chase reputation first and protection second. This verse reorders that entirely. Protect your life first. Let reputation be whatever it naturally becomes as a byproduct of living wisely. Lesson 10. Wisdom leads to peace, not just success. Her ways are pleasant ways, the text says, and all her paths are peace. This is worth sitting with because many people assume the reward for living wisely is success, money, status, achievement. But this verse names something different as the primary outcome. Peace. Peace is rarer than success, and in many ways harder to obtain. You can achieve everything the world defines as success and still lie awake at night in turmoil. This verse suggests that the actual fruit of wisdom isn't the trophy case. It's the quiet, settled state of a life built on something solid enough not to shake every time circumstances change. Lesson 11. Hold on to wisdom firmly because it's easy to lose. She is a tree of life to those who take hold of her, the text says. Those who hold her fast will be blessed. The language here is physical. Take hold fast. This isn't passive. Wisdom isn't something that simply happens to you if you wait long enough. It requires an active grip, a deliberate decision to hold on, especially in seasons when letting go would be easier. This matters because wisdom is easiest to abandon in exactly the moments you need it most. In anger, in grief, in fear, in temptation. The instruction to hold fast is a warning that your grip will be tested precisely when it's hardest to maintain. Lesson 12. Do not withhold good when you have the power to give it. Near the end of the chapter comes one of its most practical instructions. Do not withhold good from those to whom it is due when it is in your power to act. Do not say to your neighbor, "Come back tomorrow," when you already have it with you. This verse closes the chapter by bringing wisdom all the way down to the smallest, most ordinary moments. A favor you could do today but put off. A kindness you could offer now but delay for no real reason. Wisdom, according to this final lesson, isn't only about grand decisions. It's about whether you act on the good you're capable of doing the moment you're capable of doing it, rather than deferring it out of laziness, distraction, or simple inconvenience. Put these 12 lessons together, and a pattern emerges. This chapter isn't asking for perfection, it's asking for a particular posture. Trust before understanding, generosity before certainty, teachability before pride, action before delay. It was written as a father's instruction to a son, but its relevance hasn't faded in thousands of years because the questions it answers. How do I trust when I can't see the outcome? How do I handle wealth? How do I respond to hardship without assuming I've been abandoned? Are the same questions every generation eventually has to face. If this chapter spoke to something you needed to hear today, that's exactly why this channel exists, to bring the wisdom of Scripture into the moments where you actually need it. Subscribe, and let's keep walking through this together.